Today I'd like to talk to you about how news spreads, how word spreads, how your content can spread so that you can be seen, so that you can build a career in publishing and as a writer. But before we start, let's get clear on the most debated question in the publishing industry. What is news? I would say that news is a mode of information which protects our national, political and social interests, and it's distributed via language of signals through a network of signposts. Now that might sound like gobbledygook, but if you can park this idea of distribution, signposts and networks in the back of your mind, let's look at how the transmission of ideas has evolved. In the beginning there was the word, and the word was light. In ancient times, light was the primary mechanism by which news spread. To protect our land from invasion, a network of bonfires spread hundreds of miles apart were created along our coastlines. They were called signal fires, and each one was guarded by a sentry whose role was to play lookout for hostile forces. If a sentry spotted enemy warships on the horizon, they would light their signal fire to alert the other sentries in the network. As soon as the next sentry saw that the closest fire to them had been lit, they would light their own, in order to cause a chain reaction or domino effect of burning signal fires dotted along the coast, alerting the whole nation that they needed to prepare for war. You may have seen this scenario played out in Lord of the Rings. I relate the story of signal fires to you because this elegant system of spreading news across vast distances in the blink of an eye, at the speed of light, no less, is not fundamentally different to how news spreads nowadays, thousands of years later, in our digitally connected age of satellites, laptops and cell phones. Namely, the big idea here is that news doesn't spread itself, people spread the news. The spread of news is a two-factor equation, in the same way that every sentry responds in kind to the lighting of a signal fire, so successful career writers will be made up of those who can drive the distribution of their content through a network of different media formats and simultaneously be an effective participant in those networks. Put another way, the goals of the author must be aligned with the publishing medium they choose. Whatever the media format, whether it be a newspaper, book, blog, website, app or e-reader, the function of any content business is to optimize the relay of passing information among the right people. It's a proverbial relay race, and your editorial strategy dictates by what mechanism the proverbial baton is passed and by what channel. In the days of print, the editorial strategy was designed to make the content for a newspaper attractive and visible from a distance. Print media was characterized by bold, pithy headlines which were intended to grab your attention and make you pick up and buy a copy of the paper and read it. In these days of digital media, the editorial strategy has changed from one of grabbing a reader's attention to making readers click, and in the last year alone, editorial strategies have adapted yet further to inspire readers to share the content in social media. This evolution is characterized by an incredible and unexpected tonal shift in the way headlines are written today. The classical formula for headlines used to be man bites dog, namely that something out of the ordinary had to happen, like a plane crash, for it to be deemed news. And whilst search has been the primary source of online audiences, publications have broadly stuck to these conventions. After all, even with Google, you'd have to already know a lot about planes to find breaking news about a plane that didn't crash. But with social media emerging as the fastest growing distribution mechanism for new content, this fundamental tonal shift in headline writing has reached its apex. In the last 12 months, we've seen sites like Upworthy and Viral Nova emerged to be some of the most read publications in the world. Their stories are characterized by massively extended headlines that are at least 2 sentences long and usually employ juxtaposition between two contrasting ideas. The first sentence tends to be factual, whilst the news second sentence tends to be pure commentary or opinion on the part of the author. However, the biggest change in the publishing industry is that headlines are now predominantly good ones. That's because Jonah Berger, a social psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, recently studied the spread of news on social media and discovered that, unsurprisingly, people would rather share good news that grips them emotionally rather than simply grabbing their attention. This is big news. Social media distribution has caused a complete transformation in the editorial strategy of the biggest publishing companies. In just 10 years, the founding definition of good content from the most successful newspapers in the world has been flipped on its head by digital reader behavior. For content to succeed online now, writers must not only produce work which grabs their readers' attention, but is also emotionally gripping them from the outset. Even the most adaptive media companies like The Guardian or The Telegraph can't keep up with the pace of change in digital distribution methods, all of which means there's tons of opportunity out there for you guys. This story of the changes in the production of news is merely the signal fire I light for you to point to where you can expect that businesses will be calling on you to make an impact. The social web is incredibly permeable. Everyone now holds the power to publish news in their phone. You need only say something relevant and at the right time, whether by tweet, blog post, and even Facebook update, for you to get noticed. But rather than wait to get noticed by these big companies, consider the fact that now we have access to exactly the same tools that they do. They even tell you how to do it. The Guardian has published a complete guide to conducting your own data journalism, and only yesterday, BuzzFeed launched their first ever style guide to create buzzworthy content. Media companies have all but thrown out the rulebook to adapt to the digital economy. Academic conventions from traditional journalist institutions are being overturned day by day. New audiences are being discovered in swathes of ever-unfolding connections, and yet media companies need more authors to address these audiences creatively and adapt new web article types to them, such as listicles, reaction GIFs, or collaborative and interactive maps. The largest media companies in the world are cutting foreign correspondent budgets in favour of crowdsourcing the news through tweets and photos uploaded to Instagram. From a single tweet, a person can be transformed into a citizen journalist by CNN, the BBC or Deutsche Welle, and, as was the case with the London riots, can even be hired on the spot to be a freelance TV correspondent, reporting to camera on the events unfolding. Despite the publishing industry cutbacks and closures of newspapers and magazines that were too big to fail brands such as the News of the World and Newsweek, content companies are still here, and now they want your voice. Content is still king, and the author his subject. Develop your own beat and promote it. Start experimenting with your content ideas and be ready to output them in novel ways. All the same tools are at your disposal, so you can just as easily build your own BuzzFeed or Viral Nova simply by choosing to curate or report on an industry niche yourself in a new style. And if you think you need to have a huge network to succeed, think again. Research into search engine topic discovery has found that news actually spreads faster between smaller groups of loose connections. In other words, share your writing with, say, your online-only friends rather than your besties. It doesn't take much effort to form a one-to-one connection. You just have to say something relevant to them. Start by finding the people who are saying things that strike a chord with you first. Then look at curating the cacophony of voices online and turn it into signal fire that protects your social and political interests and protects theirs too. Then they'll definitely pass the message on.